Beautiful. So welcome everybody. Welcome Ken, welcome Amber, and welcome to all the people who are going to watch this incredible, I know that it's going to be incredible conversation. So today's podcast special guest is Amber Clamsy, if I pronounce it correctly.
You did. That was great.
Beautiful. Who happens to be one of the best friends of Ken, if I said it also correctly. And but before we dive in our conversation, and I start introducing you a little bit, and then you can introduce yourself, and I can interrupt you a lot of times to ask questions, and Ken too.
Perfect.
Yeah, I have to remind everybody, please subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, create engagement so that YouTube understands quicker and faster what my channel deals with, because I deal with a lot of things. My channel's name is Sabrina D'Amato, and because I am very curious. So, and this playlist, the Above the Physical playlist that I started with Ken last November, is one of my favorite actually, because we love connecting with unique people, unique individuals, men, women. We're going to have different guests. We have had already different guests, and these conversations are just making me, and I guess that can you agree to, expand more and more my consciousness, but not only, also about the vibration that we can create even through the screen with another human being. This is so powerful. So please subscribe, and now we can go on.
And remember to hit the little bell so you get notifications.
Thank you. I always forget that. That's right. So here we are. Amber, what I just want to say, and then the rest you are going to say it, is that you are a mom and a beautiful woman who does world schooling, which is something that I think I resonate very much with. It would have been something that I would have loved doing with my kids. I have two children. I was all into homeschooling, but I never could actually practice it with my children because of, different views with the fathers. But I had some collaborations, because for many years in my third life of this life, I also taught languages. I taught English, I taught French, and I collaborated with some parental schools or home schools, little numbers of families gathering together and wanting their children to learn in a more humane way than in public system in Italy. So this is what I wanted to introduce you with, but now I leave you introduce yourself, and it's all about your journey and where you started from, where you are now, and where you want to get.
Wow. Well, I can tell you that the World School version was we'll say the catapult to the title, when people see this, of Sacred Service International. Sacred Service International is the sum of all of its parts and all of the lifetimes, all of the life experience, my passions, my purposes, what lights me up, and also the mom journey. So you and I have a lot of similarities, whether we realize that or not just this one. And so I would like to share how I would say the holistic healing journey started for me. And I believe it'll be very relatable. I feel that there's always one person in the family that was brought here to break the patterns, break the chains, stop the illnesses, heal the generations, heal, like, I know and trust to be true that I'm on the front line for my family. And there's a reason why I'm still here. So over 25 years ago, I didn't wake up one day and say, this is what I wanted to go do, but I got the calling into doing healing work. And that started with massage therapy, that evolved into martial arts. So I got very much into chi and understanding how to move energy. And at one point, I would say I was like a ninja. So I must have been like a Japanese samurai warrior or something in a past life, because it really resonated. But I also felt like the way I was going through life was with a machete. Like I was just experiencing and immersing myself in all these things. And there were parts of me that I was feeling this whole time that I didn't have words for. I didn't have an understanding. It was like a soul knowing. I can say that now because I have words and definitions for it, but I was on a aggressive, and I mean aggressive. I was on an aggressive pursuit for knowledge.
Yeah.
Because I have a family and a health history that I did not want to repeat. I saw my family one by one making decisions that this is before Google, this is before the internet, this is before WebMD, this is before we had access to all this information we have now. So here I was, the youngest. I have an older brother, and that's about it. I just have an older brother. And then it started with my father. So I had this aggressive pursuit for knowledge. I literally sold everything I own and bought a one-way ticket and moved to Los Angeles, California in 2004 because I thought that was a brilliant idea. I was heavily exposed to all the modalities and the things that I couldn't get living in the Midwest where I originated of the United States. So I think that's a bright idea. Little did I know that I would be guided into this massage therapy health education program that resulted in moving to the martial arts. So now I'm getting exposed because I've always had a lot of energy. I've always been vibrant and fast and just, again, I was so upset, but I transmuted that energy to learn as much as I could, as fast as I could. And I was exposed to so many different modalities that would blow people's minds. And what I love is being in the helping people field, the holistic healing arts field. There's so much that I was able to exchange and learn and grab and pull information so fast so I could hurry up and heal my family. But that would bring the assumption that they were actually going to listen.
Yeah, I was going to interrupt you because when I also started wanting to heal myself in different ways from what I was used to and stopping all drugs, looking for other modalities, when I started understanding, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. This is working. I'm going to tell all my family because they were also, going through a lot of things. Not interested.
The interesting part about some of my training is they actually told us that when it was time to say practice and work, you go out in the world and practice, to not work on your family. And I thought to myself, that's the whole reason why I'm here, is I'm the one in the family that is looking back at my potential history, like my potential future, actually. Not only that, but my future. And I was like, oh no. I didn't know the word empath yet. I didn't understand that I was feeling things in my youth that I couldn't explain. But the way it showed up to everyone else and in my family is I'm too much. Yeah. There's people in life that have the I'm not enough thing. And then I'm the, oh, my dial is so turned up that I'm so dramatic. Oh, it's just you being over the top. No, I didn't realize until I can explain it now, the empath in me, that I was physically embodying all these things. Yeah. And then in that earlier stage of learning and going to the school and the training, and then I've thousands of hours at this point. I've laid hands on hundreds of thousands of bodies. Wow. After all these years. I've been able to hold space for others that the closest people to them did not have the capacity for. And the journey has been wildly just healing for myself. And we were talking before we started recording, is that there's a lot of people that are kind of the wounded healer concept, where they're having their own journey, and then they get to a point where they're like, I want to share this with others. So mine was like, hey, family, I don't want to sign up for this. You can't tell me. Like, everything in my body and every cell of my being was like, no, there has to be another way. I'm not gonna believe what's being just showed in front of me. There has to be more. So when I sold everything and moved to LA, here we are, the product of the follow through all these years later. And I came back to the Midwest and took over 100-year-old home, and I turned it into a healing center where I had technologies. I brought modalities from the West Coast and Asia, because I've always been deeply fascinated with the indigenous, ancient healing arts, a lot of the Eastern. So my school was Eastern, Western training. So we were just scratching the surface. So when it was time to go out into the world, I just kept feeding myself. So I've constantly keep feeding myself and been fascinated without. It's so interesting. I could say I didn't understand why. I knew where this started. I wanted to heal my dad. Mm-hmm. And I was the closest to him, we'll say, and also part of his journey. And he accepted a lot of it and was really supportive of what I was doing. And I genuinely believe that he was probably the line where all this came from in my family, because I often question, did I get this from my mom or my dad or both? Like, what side of my generation and my ancestry is this coming from? Because it's not just me. And I know that I was the one in the family that was strong enough. I'm built for this. So to not accept the call, accept the challenge, it's been constant. And it started with family, and then it immediately came out into the world. Like, I knew that I was placed and found purposeful work that wasn't separate from who I am. And that has been the most fulfilling thing I've probably ever done in my life. But it's also came from a really like pissed off, I don't want to end up like you. I don't want to sign up for this. I will not sign up for this. And I'm going to go figure it out. If you want to stay back here and keep making bad choices, I'm going to go run over here and I'm going to figure out the answers. And what are the odds that that turned into this epic life of choice and also a lot of hardship? Because now, unfortunately, in 2017, my father passed. It ascended. And then also my mom and stepfather were married for 30 years, and they both passed 6 months apart from one another. And that was about 3 years ago. This year will be 3 years. Okay. So all of that to say, there was so much attention and purpose and time spent ultimately to heal the family. And I was there. I was there to witness the passing. I was there to see what happened. So there were so many layers of me that were being asked to be present. I'm still the wounded child. I'm still pissed off about stuff from when I was a kid, but I'm also somebody who's educated and knowledgeable and out there in the world offering service. It's like my family gets it for free, but they don't want to access it, but they still want to celebrate me, which is interesting. And then I witnessed the ascent of that, and I was so there. And my mom was I thought to myself, okay, when my father passed, that was a slingshot into me doing so much deep work and dedicating all my time to service. I just literally buried myself in service, which is great, but it also crashed my nervous system multiple times. I mean, I was taking on physically embodying other people's pain is not fun.
Yeah, and this is where I stop you, because like Ken, you said you laid hands on many, many, many people, many bodies. How do you manage, and what is it? Because being an empath, being someone who absorbs the energies, how do you manage, or how did you manage, and how did you learn during the way to manage all these
in the
energies from their
beginning,
bodies
I
that you're
didn't have
touching?
any how do I want to say, when I first started, I was just a babe, you know, and in that understanding of that, when somebody told me about energy, I think, oh, I have so much energy inside of me. Not the same at all, because of being so kinesthetic. I then now quickly felt, oh, this is it's a whole other world. How do I protect myself? Some of it I gained from my original martial arts training, which was about not only how to cultivate the chi, the energy, the life force energy, but then how to move it, how to bring it in for yourself to heal yourself, but then also how to, we'll say, put that almost energetic veil between you and the individual.
What kind of martial arts are you talking about here?
So this was Chinese martial arts. So it was a combination. It was a we'll call it an off-brand bagua, which is like a deep, like lifelong Chinese style. This was in LA, so I would say it was like the kind of the knockoff brand. And so I was studying swords, Tai Chi, martial arts, acrobatics, and Chinese yoga. So I actually became what's considered a gray belt, a teacher certification in this. They call it sintonia, which is right for like tuning in.
Yeah,
so,
in Italian it's the same.
Right. So now I'm a teacher and I'm an educator. Now I'm calling in. It was so interesting who I would call in, meaning who were my students, who were my clients. And it wasn't how, you know, I was attracting a lot of people that could be my parents or my grandparents. And so I showed up in people's lives in a way that was like, how do I want to put this? In ways that nobody else in their lives showed up. And I take that seriously. And I still, to this day, I'm that friend. It's not just my professional career. I'm that human. I'm that friend, always have been, that then got, we'll say, called to this line of work, which has now led into this beautiful journey of what I like to really just anchor it in with relationship building.
Yeah.
And then now learning, always learning, constantly learning, always trying new things. Ooh, you want to exchange? Oh, you offer this? Oh, that sounds crazy. Let's exchange. So I've been blessed with being surrounded by some really, I'll call them super galactic humans. And in Los Angeles, I got exposed to like, whoa, like let's heal our DNA to, you know, I don't know. You name it. It was like everything was there. It was like a buffet of spirituality. However, that's great, but that to me wasn't the real purpose of gaining all this information and knowledge. It was to go to places where it doesn't exist, which was my hometown, the Midwest, and drop it in there. Now that was a, you know, bold move. And I can't say that it was like ultimately well received. But what I did is I started to break through the initial layers and expose people, educate them. When people walked in the door, I didn't know what was walking in the door, but what I could be on the shadow of a doubt tell them is that there's nothing here that's going to harm you. It will only help you. Because these people, these humans, not just there, but everywhere, are coming in with some serious work, and they don't have the support that they need. And maybe they've exhausted other resources, or they've used all their insurance money, or they're broke and they're this and they're that. And then I show up as this shining light, like, hi, did you hear about option B? I know you've exhausted your resources, but if you stretch them just a little further, I can show you, not me, it's not Amber, it's let me educate you and advocate, because really it's about educating people to know how to advocate for themselves, because now there's no excuse. We have the internet, we have answers. You can't use the generation, my parents' generation. Well, my doctor said,
Yeah.
The white coat syndrome. That's like my
Yeah.
grandma's. That's my grandma's, whatever my doctor says. And then with
Well,
my
this is my
family,
whole family, even my brother, cousins, parents, everybody in my family, they are like this still. But even around me, there are many, many people who are still caught into, because, I don't know in the United States, but in Italy, the welfare system is very strong still. It's crawling down like slowly, but still people are like, oh, but I go to the doctor, he gives me a prescription and I don't pay. And when you tell them, I have something that could help you, but you have to pay for it because it's for your well-being, and you have to take the responsibility
you said it,
you have to
the
choose
responsibility.
yourself, and you have
Yes.
to become aware of what you want to do with yourself. Yeah. And
Well, and
then,
also hold a space of support, because if no one ever told you that option B, C, D, E, F, G was available, you're going to go that way. And I've watched it. I've witnessed it. These modalities are not necessarily covered by insurance. There
yeah.
are ways to get reimbursed. I never got into that. I never wanted to get into the system, because the whole point was like, how can I drop an anchor into a space? Like, I'm doing the hard work. I'm getting into the trenches with the humans is what was happening. Now, fast forward, all of that, right? Still doing it, but there had to be a change. So after my elders have now passed on and the formalities were dealt with, right? Properties, this, that, or the other was done. I was sitting there and I had a 5-year practice here in the Midwest. I was in their lives on a consistent basis. But my soul was like, what's there to do? I don't have the excuse, oh, I got to stay here because my family, I got to take care of them. Nope, that's gone. Like, am I in my own way? No. Can't use the other excuse. Okay. So what do? Do we just spin the globe and find a destination and call it a day? So my daughter Amora, she's now 15. So let's see, it was January 8th, 2024. At the end of this year, it'll be full 3 years that after all of that journey, we're kind of given the highlight reel of the journey, which turned into, in 2 weeks' time, you want to talk about above the physical, you want to talk about the universe conspiring in our favor, is in 2 weeks' time, I canceled out that 5 years of stuff, of my clients, of everything, and bought 2 one-way tickets and flew to the Dominican Republic. Now, I want to explain.
Did you know anybody in the Republic?
Yes.
Okay.
So this, well, we knew prior, because I was a traveling mama before that. I was already a free spirit before being a mom. And then there was no stopping that part of me, because actually, based on all of the people I was serving, they tell me everything. I'm hearing so many raw, real stories, and I'm the one holding space. This is why they're coming here, to dump it, essentially, right? And then hold space for that. And then honor that, and hopefully not have your nervous system crash and you fall on the floor after client number 3. So
this is why I asked you, how did you manage
so I
those
manage with a
energies from
lot
other
of
people?
nature. I would say nature is my therapist, big time. Grounding, because when you're so high up here, like in the field, you gotta, I would say that I live 3D and 5D. And where would I prefer to live? Probably up here. But where am I being called? To anchor. So this idea of how do we pull from the unseen to drop it into reality, to be in service, but then also how do we, like you said, how do we not get so heavily impacted by all of this heavy earth energy
Yeah.
And transmute that. It's constant. I don't think it's one way to do that, but nature is my thing. I will go there barefoot and just be there. Of course, there's meditation, there's breath work, there's yoga, there's movement, there's all the like go-tos. And I think everyone has their go-to, but sometimes no matter how much you know or how much you think you have in your tool belt of information, sometimes you just get taken over and your body just drops. And I've had that happen to me more times than I care to want to admit. And I'm still here, which brings me back to,
yeah, because we
there
are
has to
human.
be
Yes,
a better way that I don't crash.
because we are.
What's that, hon?
Because
You
we
cut
are.
out a little bit.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because we
Yes.
are experiencing this earthly experience through our bodies anyway, we are brought down more often than we want.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. So this is true, because I also know, I teach breathing techniques. I am Reiki master like Ken, and but still, when you feel, when you really are aware, sometimes you need to do something else as well. And
yeah,
not
that
only
something
take
else
care
was
of
find a
yourself,
way to
either in
Go
nature
ahead.
or maybe with someone else. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting you said with someone else, which I find that so many people, when we go back to the responsibility of your own self, so many people are reaching out. And don't get me wrong, all the modalities are incredible and you can have massive shifts. But where I see a hole there is the integration part, the time it takes. I know so many people that are certified and educated, and like they just like, they sound like they just know it all.
Yeah.
And they're still hurting, they're still growing, they're still learning, but I see this constant reach externally instead of integrating internally.
Yeah.
And I would say that is where we can bridge the two, but taking ownership of that. Like it all has its place, just like the medical system has its place, holistic healing has its place, certain things have their place. And I would say that I live somewhere between, I can see all parts and all perspectives, that I don't lean or sway one side or the other. I like to stay neutral. And I think that's probably better for my sanity to stay neutral, because there is this still now, even currently, there's so much technology, there's so much development, there's so many options that it's almost overwhelming, that where do we even begin to discern which one of all the things is actually helping? Right? So there is a point where I think we need other people to help us kind of disseminate that. But at the end of the day, it's on us, right? So on that note,
Yeah.
I took it upon myself, because I had this vision for a long time of this traveling with my daughter. And it went from here and dropped to here. And once that hit me, and I was like, my spirit says enough is enough. I've dealt with the death stuff. I've dealt with the material possessions. I literally got rid of all material possessions in 2 weeks' time. I had a couple things left, but the thing is when we make decisions that are best for our soul, that we don't have to sell this to anyone else, no one else needs to understand. But when we start making decisions that we like a full body yes, like there's no one can tell me any different. When you get that certain, and some people ignore that, there was no way I could ignore that. Yes. So every particle that needed to move in our favor, once that anchor went from here to here, but it was always here. It was always there. I kept envisioning, this is interesting. I would lay hands, I'd have because I'm in this very Zen state. I'm the conduit. I'm seeing things when I'm working on people. So I really get to process a lot while this is happening. So I would see this bridge in my vision. I'm like, one day I'm going to walk across this bridge and collapse timelines. Even though I was still doing what was crashing my nerve, I was still doing the same thing, which was good stuff because I'm helping people, serving people. It's all great, right? It's all great until it isn't. And then I walked across that bridge. And then when
what was the last push? What was that made
the
you
last
cross
push was the family.
the closing of that chapter?
Oh yeah, the closing off of the the closing off of the family. Well, not even the closing off. It was the release and the liberation. If I could pick one word of what that was liberation, which means I liberated myself from, well, based on the family passing on, I was liberated from all the energies that I ever experienced in my youth, that I chose to not hang on to those things because they weren't physically still with me. It was a choice. It took a minute, you know. It was a conscious choice to say, you know what? I want to honor their life. I'm going to take all that I can't, there's nothing I can, quote, do about it now, but that I also want to take back that because I've been able to have exchanges, and through mediums and through various individuals, I've been able to communicate with my mom and my dad. And you want to know the most recent message I got, which was beautiful. And this was, well, most recently in December, my father came through, and it's normally my mom. So that's interesting. So both sides. And it's like, well, okay. So I was curious, who did this come from for me? Meaning, was it my mom's side? Was it my dad? Was it both? Because I saw things in them that they never saw in themselves. There's characteristics and attributes of my mom that are the dominant strengths of me, but I witnessed her in her earthly body not believe in those parts of her that I saw. She didn't get to live out, I think, the best version of her. Therefore, I didn't get the best version of her. And then when my dad came through, he said those exact words. He called me his butterfly. He said, Amber, I wish I saw you. Ooh, I'm going to feel that. I wish I saw you the way I see you now from the other side. And he told me that I get it from both of them. However, I didn't get the best version of them because they were going through their own individual journey.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it feel any less.
Yeah.
So I get it because that was what I needed to go through to become the human I am today. And they're definitely supporting me. I have an army of light that will beat any military, any evil energy. And I'm so protected that, however, I don't play with that protection, if you know what I mean. I don't underestimate that. Like, I'm going to honor and respect that because I know if I don't, then that's going to hit me in a totally different way. So that leads us to where, after those journeys and like, how do I transmute this energy, this grief? And I made a conscious decision. I'm either going to carry this forward or I can use it. This is interesting. I'm picking up a theme on myself right now as I say this out loud. I started with an aggressive pursuit of knowledge, and now I transmuted all that aggression energy, that like speed. I need it now. I'm so mad. I don't want my family to keep hurting themselves. I saw so much hurt in my youth. It was insane. But then instead of me falling into that hurt, I transmuted it into this massive love bomb, really. And I'm like, the world needs more love.
Yeah.
They need more love, please. So then here I am now in this like transmuting all of that, how do I want to say, witnessing of suffering and holding it and being that safe space for people in those relationships, that now I said to myself, you know, there's more that I want to do. I don't want to waste any time. I want to spend every day being of service, to where now my entire walk, who I am, 24 hours a day is this embodiment and this intentional walk, because
Yeah.
I've been integrating all of the stuff. And also there's a bigger picture here. Like, this is way bigger than me. And my mom came through again. This has been multiple times. I've had different mediums and different messages, if you will. And my mom most recently was like, Amber, stop helping so many other people build what it is that they have, because I can't help myself. My default setting is, ooh, I want to help you.
Yeah.
She's like, pour your energy into your vision, your dream. And it's not mine. When I say mine, my ego's not in it, but I've been
Your
built.
soul purpose, she means.
Correct. Yeah. I've been built and designed to be we'll say the conduit. That's the best word I can always come up with. The vessel to just bring it to the world. So this idea of Sacred Service International, mind you, sacred service. So I'm fully committed. I'm committed. It was a download. It came. I was like, I'm feeling this something. There's something bigger. I don't have the answer. All of a sudden, boom. So I created I established a company, right? I filled out the paperwork at the end of the day, but it was like this womb, this energetic womb of this wants to be something. I can't tell you what it's going to be yet. That was about 1.5 years ago, maybe almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it's developed through what? Relationships, conversations like this, sitting with people, listening to their story, their journey, which I'm obsessed with doing, and really just showing up and being grateful for every day that we get to wake up and do this life. We get to do what we're doing right now. We get to share our passions and purpose with others. And as I've met all these different people and traveling, so we, my daughter Amora and I, have been to 8 different countries in the last 2 years. I've sat with so many families from all over the world, and I've learned so much about education systems in different countries, different laws and rules and restrictions, and like listening. So nothing's changed. They might not be on my table, but we're sitting together wherever we are in the world, and they're opening up to me, and I'm hearing all these pain points. It's very similar. So through my life and my embodiment of all things that I trust to be true, I get to now still hold space for these humans. But of course, I'm always like, what am I going to do? You know, how do we take compassion and turn it into action? I'm that person. I can't talk and then not walk away and do something about it, right? So Sacred Service has developed into currently this global community.
So Sacred Service is the company that you have created a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that was like this download. It was the name. I was like, what am I going to call this? And I laughed because I was pushing so hard for this name. And I already had this on my body.
Okay.
Right? The Sacred Service. And because that's what I was living in. That was this, that's it, right? That's the calling. If I wanted to capture it, that's what I would call it. And then I wanted to anchor it, you know, and that's why I have all the other images. It's not because these are my belief systems or I'm attached, but when I started allowing the rest of the world to see on the outside what has helped cultivate me, and sacred symbols really changed my frequency. So I could also add that this is my protection, even this piece that was designed for me. So I found different ways, you know, techniques, right? When you need them, nature, and then just different things that work for my resonance.
Yeah.
So I could add that those are some other features that over time that I've been able to use to help protect my energy, because remember, we were talking before we started recording, there is no time to play small anymore. So this calling is so big that it's so easy to be like, no, I don't know if I can do it. You start, but there's that part of me that's like, I have to do it. Like, for me to not do it and to start gathering the people. So one of my superpowers is relationship building. So sacred service, I would say, is the sum total of all of its parts, all the relationships. And so we have 3 pillars: health sovereignty, regenerative business, and cultural impact. There's not one human I know at this point that doesn't fit into one of those 3 things. Yeah. Health sovereignty to me is really advocating and educating people that they too can have power over their health journey. And there's like a million ways to do that. I focus on the water element now because of all the things through travel. The most toxic thing, one of the global issues on this planet, is water. So, and also from a healing standpoint, for me and my daughters, we travel around to these different countries, making sure we don't get sick. So I work with technologies specifically for that I can take with me everywhere. Yeah. So there's that piece.
I think we still are on the same boat here.
We are. Yeah. Yes. So the regenerative business, people are like, Amber, I've never heard the word regenerative before when thinking of business. And so regenerative to me is, if we're going to extract, we need to give back. It needs to be reciprocal, just like energy. If we're pulling, we're giving, or some people just like to siphon, some people like to give out, right? It's all relative. But this idea of like business can be regenerative, which means educating entrepreneurship in a way that is not the traditional way, because there are ways to where everyone can win. Yeah. I want all humans to win. But if they don't know how to do that, there's something about growing up in a very capitalistic country that my mind thinks outside of the box and says, how can I take this and what has been, the conditioned environment, and cross borders with that? How can I help others that are in remote pockets of the planet that are the have-nots of the world, which there's no part of my being that will accept that as a truth, and give them access to things, whether it's information, whether it's knowledge, whether it's a skill, whether it's living water. I don't mean clean, I mean living. So, and how do we adapt with this, whatever the custom need is? And then cultural impact goes without saying. It's like, my heart is so like for the indigenous, for the people who came before us, those that the ancient wisdom that we are now seeing in modern technology. Yeah. So if I were to like sum up like my participation in this world with the healing journey, is my fascination for the ancient arts that have stood the test of time. There's things that have been around, like acupuncture, reflex, all these things have been around for like 5,000 years, and some people are just learning about them today. Yeah. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of effort to try to snuff out these old ways, like the grandma's recipe, and things like that I see it coming full circle right now. I don't know if everyone else sees it, but my eye's on the prize, that we are literally full circling back to whatever we just got so far removed from. So that cultural impact means, how do we get access for everyone? Whatever that is, everyone needs something different. So that's the mentality, because now that my daughter and I have traveled and we've been boots on the ground.
Where have you been?
So we started in the Dominican Republic. Then we went to Colombia. We got to connect with the indigenous pre-Columbian tribe known as the Kogi. That was insane. Wow. That was amazing.
So you're already invited for another episode to tell us about that. Okay.
Oh, yes. And then after that, went to Spain. So we spent 6 weeks in northern Spain. And then that was like year 1, right? So year 2, last year, because now we're meeting all these families, we're getting turned on to all these places. This is where these people are going.
How did you find the families on the way? How did you find them?
Well, so when we first went to the Dominican Republic, we went to this world school hub known as the Hive. Now, the Hive is a stationary location that's been there for about 5 years. And a woman from England named Kate started this during COVID. That's a whole story in itself. Actually, she'd be an incredible human for you guys to connect with in regards to being a traditional educator. Yeah. And going...
I was not a traditional, never been a traditional educator. No.
No, I'm saying Kate
Ever.
was the woman. Yeah.
Ah,
No,
she
same.
was?
Exactly.
I thought you were speaking
Yes.
about me, sorry.
No, no, no. I'm saying the woman who owns the hive
Okay,
was a
okay.
traditional educator who has, you know, so far on the edge of the cliff that she just had to jump off and develop this where we started. So we did
Wow.
a 6-week immersive experience. I took a training, so I have had her practitioner training because I'm a self-development junkie. You know, I just want to constantly grow and develop myself. So I'm like, hey, I want to know what you're doing with my kids, so I'm going to take your training, and then my daughter goes into this 6-week program. So that was such an epic experience, and I was like, talk about collapsing timelines. I
Yeah.
sat on my balcony of the condo we rented for the 3 months for the first 3 days, and I just like dumped tears of gratitude, tears of like, oh my gosh, I walked across that bridge. This is happening. Timelines. And even though it's been like over 40 years, technically, it felt like it all just fell into place right there. And that sparked our journey. So we kept going with this hive community. So she already brought the families there. So there's the first round of families. Then we go to Colombia. We all lived on the same property, like this eco lodge. So now families are all like cohabitating together. So that was a different version. Spain was similar, cohabitating. And then the following year,
But
we
they
went
were
to
all
Japan.
following her method program.
Some were repeat customers, some have never been, but she's the, we'll say the
one who started the
space holder. I'll
movement.
call her a steward. She's definitely a steward. And this indigenous connection started in Colombia and it's continued. We totally need to talk about that. Not in this moment, but yes, because there is a serious movement now. I'll plant the seed of this intrigue and this revival. I'll go as far to say this revival of the ancient wisdom, that the native ways are coming back. And they want to speak
because
out. They want to get out.
They knew already so much.
They still know.
I've just come back last week from a 4-day work on myself, because it's an ongoing process, with an incredible person in Sardinia, so this big island in Italy, and he's an author. He has written books and he has lived a lot in South America, because his guides are telling him where he has to go. So he went to Asia first for many years, then he traveled to Mexico, and then to South America. And before I left, after the work we did together, he gave me one of his last books, and I'm reading it, and it's about his journey on the Maya's illuminations, enlightenments. I don't know how to say exactly in English, but they knew already. So because he experiences all these multidimensional levels of reality, he went there. I don't know for how long, but it's all written in the book, and it's incredible. So I guess that also the ancient Pre-Colombians knew.
So one thing about them is that they are the one tribe that ultimately wasn't taken over by colonization. So that's an interesting piece of them. When we met them personally, I dived so deep into everything about them, because I was like, I'm the right person at the right place at the right time. This is happening. Oh my goodness. I've stayed connected. I've contributed into helping them travel and organize different destinations and things of that nature. And there is a very significant effort. And they're called mamos, that's like they're shamans, that are traveling all around the world to heal the planet, because they know how to do that, but then also share their ecological warning and message to us. So it's so interesting how many ways, I just have this thought right now, how many messages we're receiving as a humanity. And I know it can be overwhelming. And I know there's humans out there that are like, this is too big. What can I even do to begin to start to heal? Because that's the first question that comes to my mind when people start bringing up tragedies and trying to crush native ways and the way that the United States was built. We're not even going to go there.
No.
So that being, I think to myself, where do we begin the healing? Where does that start? How do we take all of this insanity?
We have to go back to ourselves. This is my answer after I was very angry because of all I was seeing around me and not being able to do something significant, you know. But the most significant action that we can take is to just go back to ourselves in a very conscious way, become very aware of why we're here and why our soul decided in the first place to come and experience this time with all these crises, with all this feeling of, you know, I'm powerless, I cannot really change things. What do you think? And what do
I
you
want
think,
to add
Ken?
to
You know,
that.
because I
Well,
always ask a lot of questions, but
yeah,
I know that
I
also
want to
Ken
share this
has.
piece. See the humanity in everyone, because we are not separate. I know the world wants to, try real hard to make us believe that we are. We are
Yeah.
not. And the way that we can take that ourselves as single individuals and can make a massive impact is by doing that, because there's an uncomfortability about some of these topics and subjects and things that are very much there. However, to not have these conversations, to not be having a platform like this, to not be exposing this and getting uncomfortable, but finding a comfort in it so that we can see the humanity in one another. We can understand when we don't have to agree.
Yeah.
We don't have to sign up, but we can have this beautiful human exchange. So
Yes.
Ken, I
Absolutely.
guarantee you got something to say.
Absolutely. You know, first of all, I'd like to say that most people sit back and they watch someone's journey. You know, this whole conscious conversation that we're having is like the average person looking at this from the outside is like, wow, these people have got it together. They're doing things, they're creating, um, and they're watchers instead of doers. And I feel so honored to be a participant in your journey for over a decade. You know, that not just an observer of it, but an actual participant of it. And I think people need to realize that they need to step outside of their comfort zone and participate in the little steps that take us somewhere to wherever we're going to be, because nobody started out this way. You know, I guess if you were lucky, we started, I mean, the stories we could tell of where, in detail, where we came from, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and the journey we've come. And another interesting thing, as you talked about your journey through going and doing massage and healing your family, it also was the bridge that allowed you to bring other things to people because it was an accepted path. You know, it was like people were doing, they were like, oh, massage therapy. Okay, that over the last couple decades, that's become a real thing where people are like, that's a modality that people are seeking out. But it's also allowed you to open the door to introduce other things to people that are way beyond what they even know about as an educator, as a participant. It's pretty amazing. So, what would you say to the average person out there that is sitting afraid of participating?
The first thing that's coming through is borrow somebody else's belief.
Mm,
And not everyone is set up and ready and willing to be on the front line.
right.
And so that is an open invitation for anyone who's feeling that they want to contribute to something, because innately all humans want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So you can participate, meaning in Sacred Service International, it's not mine. I'm updating the landing page currently to make it very clear how can people support, because it's easy for me to talk in big picture form. And I want other individuals and specific individuals that are looking to be a part of something bigger. Because there's no way this is going to happen alone. But you have to borrow somebody else's confidence and their energy and be a part of it. Because once you're in that flow, you can find your way. And it is kind of overwhelming because it's like, oh wow, the energy. And this is my whole life, though. I've dealt with this my whole life. Is that the kind of the too much, like, well, Amber, well, I'm not you. I'm not you, so how can I do this? Okay, well, if you believe that, then you're right. Unfortunately, if you don't believe that, then you're right too. So it just depends. So I would say really the need right now is to contribute and recognize that you have a part to play in this. And yes, we're all still like on the journey, but like, what else is there to be doing while we're here? You know? That it's going to take a lot of us, a lot of energy, but not to the point to where it's like unachievable. It is achievable. There's a lot going on, and it's on purpose. So we have a choice, right? Life is about choices, right? We can make a choice to fall into that hole, or we can make a choice to say, oh, wow, I just got exposed to something great. You can look more into what it is that I'm putting together. I have humans like Ken around me and a whole bunch of beautiful humans that have really curated what this gets to be, and it's constantly changing. But at the end of the day, it's being the bridge. I'm the bridge. I know that about me. I even had a Native American gentleman tell me, he's an elder. He's like, you're the rainbow bridge. So another message for everyone is that all of this healing, all of what we're even discussing or any other interviews on here, it's not just for a chosen few. This is open to all. And I would say that's the thing to say to anyone who's like, well, I don't know about all that. This is open to all. And I make a very intentional point to make sure things feel inclusive. But there are some of us that are really diving deep, digging deep, but you can leverage that. Doesn't have to be you, but it can be. You can play your parts, but to sit there and think for a second that you don't have an option is insane. You do. And it can be collaboration. I would say the biggest thing right now is advocacy work, holding your convictions, and collaboration. We have to collaborate because
absolutely. Yeah.
My focus, or I should say our focus, it's a we, not an I just have to find myself, because I feel sometimes, and I know it's challenging for other people like that are out there in the world and they're like owning their purpose. It's a lonely road. It really is. But I've also come to the acceptance that if that's how this is going to be, I get to decide how I want this journey to be for me. And I also encourage other people to like hop on, because there's so much joy to be had. There's so much life to be lived. And I love life, and it's hard for me because I'm around a lot of people and I'm over here loving life every day, and they might not be. But I also have come to terms that I don't need to touch everybody's life, but even like a smile and a hug and a kindness and a courtesy go a long way in this world. So it doesn't have to be so deep. It can really be something really simple on how we can work on elements of our own self and embody these things that we, I have to say the Gandhi quote, it's just so fitting: be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes,
that was a flow. That came through.
Yeah.
That felt good.
Yeah, but I also understand that many people are still afraid because they are so focused on what they have been told. They are so focused on what, it's supposed to be done and the way you're supposed to be living your life, all the goals that you're supposed to achieve in order to be recognized by the community that you're living in, family, people that are around you. So I think that there are also people like you, like Ken, maybe like me, maybe many others, who are somehow, maybe without even knowing it, raising the vibrations, because you have brought so much energy that I have been the whole time vibrating from toe to head and back. And yeah, I can imagine that your family said you're too much. It's I understand why, because you are full of energy. It's like you are
Fire. I mean,
radiating
yes.
energy. Yes. But people like this can also slowly, maybe in an unaware way, raise other people vibrations, because unless the vibrations raise, these ones who are afraid, they're not going to step forward. So I believe very much in the collaboration. I believe very much in the intention.
Yes.
The power of our intention is incredible. And when a certain number of people with a certain intention gather together, oh my God, then, it's unstoppable.
Yes. That's why we need more people together. And it's so, the thing is I get fired up like this because I'm getting to talk about the things that I love, and I get like super hyped up and passionate, and it's amazing. And to be told, I mean, this is with educators, it's not even just with my family. Like I would have people say, Amber, what are you running towards? Why do you move so fast? Why do you do? And I was being questioned for what was innately how I came into this world the whole time. So the fact that I was a rebel with so many causes kind of just fits. So the last couple of years, like I said, I sat on that balcony and I wept for like the first 3 days. And so for the last, 2.5 years, almost 3, I have so leaned into the feminine side of me, because my whole life prior was so masculine and protected and this and this. So I could teach a college course on that topic.
Remind me when we stop this interview that I have to tell you something about the feminine.
Yeah. Yes. So I've been leaning, like you said, some of us need to, have like this slow raise of the vibration. And I have to say that I've been more fulfilled in we'll call it the gaps in between the connections, this slowing down. And at first, my physiology, there was so much uncomfortability in my body when I go from moving and going and giving and serving, and then all of a sudden I just stopped, literally physically stopped. And then I'm like, okay. And the way I was observing cultures, I was like, I want to make sure I don't come in with this white colonistic judgment on these humans. I want to come in this, I want to observe. I want to take my time. I can't just come into a place and think, oh, you have a garbage problem. You have this problem. I see all these problems. I want to fix these problems. No, it was such a different a human exercise, because when you go out into the world and you see how other cultures do what they do, you will judge it so fast. So an interesting internal game I was playing is, okay, like to pause myself in those moments and embrace and allow myself to observe and understand and connect. And it's so interesting that whether you speak the language or not, body language, a smile, energy, people feel energy, whether you know how to talk to them or not. And I want to express that too, is that we are vibrating. We are the tuning fork. We need to take ownership of the signals that we're sending out into the world. And there's ways to become better at that, because we can feel each other, just like you're feeling me all the way in Italy and I'm over here in the United States.
Yes.
I wanted to say in the beginning too, that there was a part of me when I left my close knit, like belly to belly practice, that I had a belief that I've shattered now, that I couldn't make the same depth of relationships if I wasn't physically in your space. I had a deep belief that I couldn't make an impact without being close to you.
Oh, I have been told that so many times, I've
been
been
proven
told,
so wrong.
Amber, I've been told by friends, but yeah, you work online, you don't get to meet those people, you don't really, you don't interact, you don't have a real life because you're working with people that are so far away from you. And I was like, but do you really think that the screen is a shield and you cannot feel the energies? It's, yeah.
Can I tell you that when we meet each other in real life,
it's going to be even more, but you can still feel it. I
well,
know
what I'm saying is that belief got shattered because business and life and movement, when you're not in a stationary place and using technology, sharing your journey, whatever it is you're doing, captivating your journey, it is a lot of that. I've been a Zoomaholic at this point. And so now the time when I physically get to meet the individuals that I'm building rapport and relationships with in a totally different way that I believed couldn't be possible. When we finally hug, it's going to be like, yes, I haven't seen you for 10,000 years. And I'm so glad that we've reconnected. And that is so powerful. It's amazing. So there is so much we can do from a distance. And I'm so glad that I shattered that belief system.
Yeah.
It took some time. And now there's no excuse. We have all the information. We have access to information. We have the choice of whether or not we want to decide to live an embodied, intentional life or not. And also make connections and share your message all over the planet. I mean, come on. If there was a time to do it, clearly now's the time.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I am still.
Yes. My palms have been sweating and my legs are like shaking, and I love it because it's
it's like
that's
waves.
why it has
like
to come
when
out.
we breathe in, we breathe out, there is an exchange. And if you stop that exchange, then it gets stuck somewhere and it creates blockages. So
yes,
and I am a little bit curious though. You said that your daughter is 15 years old, and I'm really curious how she's enjoying all this chapter of her young life. If you want to share a little bit of it.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I imagine she's a teenager with like every teenager goes through a teenager life.
We started at 13, and if you're a mama, 13 to 15 could look very different, So we started at 13. However, so to give you I'll give you my initial gut response is she chose the right mom. And we both love making friends. We both love traveling. I traveled with her before she even knew what it was. So she's already had it in her before. It wasn't just like this shock to the system. And even now at 15, so what her needs are and what her desires are already changing. And so it's so beautiful when I can look at her and say, okay, babe, what do you want to experience now? So I've given her so much freedom and exposure to so many things that, and also the relationships too. Talk about that, how do you keep moving around and meeting different kids and then you don't see each other. Oh my gosh. I've cried every time we've left a hub because I deeply met the families. I'm like, wow, I really love this exchange. And I've stayed diligent on building relationships, but for her, it's been a little bit different. She made one friend and now she's obsessively with this friend, Matilda, forever. They are going to be stuck for life. I can see them traveling together when they get older through Europe. I just see the whole thing. So there's this, we've also done 9 different educational models before this. So that could be a whole other conversation around. I've gone to the furthest ends of the earth. I've gone so far out of the box for her to be exposed to different ways of learning, because the systematic learning, I wasn't a fan. However, I don't want to take my views and pour them onto her automatically because I didn't have a good time. So I've been able to learn a lot about myself too with this journey, but she's developing into the most creative. She's a little entrepreneur. She has a jewelry business. She's, selling. It's all about thrifting now at 15. It's all about thrift, vintage clothing. When you're going around in how do I want to say, I've been a solo parent this whole time. I've been raising her on my own, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I say that with all the love, no victim here. So, and I enjoy that because I've been able to provide these like options, like here are the options. What is it that you want to take in? And then for me, it's like, where can I support that? Let's find the things that light you up. And so it's really turned into art, definitely art, creativity. I get that. My mom, creative genius. Oh, there's so much in the female line. And also I want to put this into this conversation is I had another medium tell me, this is beautiful, is that all the work that I've done and all of the ancestral curses and chains and all the stuff that I've broken, Amora does not ever have to carry any of it. She is free of it. I can't say I want to sign up and do that all over again because it's a pretty gnarly journey. However, if that's the outcome, I'm here for it. So she gets to move forward without all of this baggage. So it's not like I'm passing this forward onto her. So she gets to have this lighter experience, a lot of trust in me to keep her safe. And so it's beautiful to watch how this travel has really strengthened both of us. It's strengthened our safety within one another, the trust, the experience, right? How do you, like, it's going to be years from now that we really get to see how this is really sunk into her and what she does in this world. And there's been moments where she's looked at me and said, Mommy, I can never be you. Like I'm like, she has this interesting fear. And I was like, hold on, babe. Have I ever made you feel like you need to be me? Sacred service, all this. I said, I didn't create this to think that you're going to grow up and take all this over. But I want you to understand that this is built for your generation, for the future generations. And if you so choose to, that these are things that I get to do while I'm here to pay it forward. But that doesn't mean that you all of a sudden have to like follow in these footsteps or something. So that's an interesting piece about her being my daughter. Like I separately, like I have a mission, she has a mission. I'm not going to stop my mission because I'm supposed to be raising her as my child. I'm like, look, I believe there's a world where we can both be fulfilled. We can both have what we need. And as long as we communicate that, if anything changes, then we can adapt and adjust. So sharing a little brief highlight reel of some of the journey, because of course it's fun and woo, fun food, fashion, exotic lands, exotic people. Like it all sounds amazing. However, this is intentional for me as her mother, her mentor, her guide, because I want her to see and grow in her empathy and her compassion and understanding of other humans, because I'm not going to tell her what her change maker role is on this planet, but I want her to also realize that there's so many different ways, there's so many different variations of the theme of people, and recognize that unity.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you
sharing
for that.
this. It's
Yeah.
no, because you're a mom and because you have your child is not a grown up. So this is also very interesting to see how you also manage and handle all of that into your passion, into your vision. This is incredible. And I don't know, Ken, do you have something else to ask?
Wow.
It's been a wonderful conversation, and I can already see that you're going to come back. I want to know all about the Pre-Colombians.
Yes.
An ongoing conscious conversation.
Ongoing saga.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
This is
Yes, I'm in too.
Join the journey. Join the journey.
Yes.
yeah.
So I would love to share, as you just reminded me, let me do a little plug here, is so how to find me or how to look
I
more
was
into
going to
sacred
ask
service
you. I was going to
yeah,
ask you, and I will put everything in the video description. Go on.
So I have a landing page. I'm updating it, but the URL is sacredserviceintl.com. And then you can find me on Facebook under Amber Clancy, Clancy. And then I just recently started like a business kind of offshoot page called Explore the World with Amber, because
Always
there are
on
a lot
Facebook?
of, yeah, this is Facebook. I just recently started the business page as like, we'll say almost like for me, it's become very healing and cathartic to have this way to dump all of this journey. It's like, where do I take all of this that is within me? Where would I even begin to pour it out? So every day, and the consistency, like you mentioned, Sabrina, I'm learning how to be more consistent with showing up to have more of a reach and use these tools, the technology and the way in which we connect now in a positive way to pour more joy out there. But also, I have so many like 50,000 photos in my phone and videos of all these different things. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
I have a story and an experience from each one that is worthy of being shared with other people.
You should do documentaries,
I know.
Oh my God. I am a very visual person.
Do a lot of things.
You have traveled so much. You have met so many different cultures. For me, each one of these chapters of your journeys should be a documentary.
I know. I should have a film crew follow me around everywhere, because there's never a dull moment in my day.
That's for sure.
Yes. So those are the 3 parts. And with sacred service, like I said, it's forever evolving. And I'm also looking to gather and kind of create like a formal board of sorts. I would call it more of a council of light.
Galactic
and
Council.
To have more of these. There you go. Right, on the earthly plane, right, we can come together. So yeah, build community. There's so many ways that this can go, but there's never a moment where there's not something to be done. There's always something to be done. And that being said, I also am reminded that even though I love to think so for humanity, I also cannot forget to also bring it back and stay close to what's close and what's right in front of me, and love what's right in front of me too.
Yes, yeah. We start
and
from
stay
us
present.
and then we expand. Absolutely.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. So thank you. This is like so much fun.
Yeah.
We could talk for like,
I'm just
hours.
now, I have a timer that says how long have I opened my Zoom space. Usually our conversations are about 1 hour if it's very long, but today it's going to go over the top. It's been almost 2 hours, over 1 hour and a half for sure, that we have been having this beautiful conversation. And it's pure joy, pure energy coming through. I am really grateful. Thank you, Amber, for accepting
Same.
this very late invitation, but beautiful, you know, things happen like this suddenly, and then you find out about
In
another
perfect
unique,
timing.
yeah, imperfect timing for unique stories. Yeah. So just
Yeah,
thank you.
love it.
Thank you. And this is recorded. I will publish it in a couple of days, and then we can share it all over, because I think that people need to watch it. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Beautiful.
Bye. See you soon.
Until next time.
Yeah.